Welcome to Loyalize, a podcast by D Squares about customer engagement and customer loyalty.
At D Squares, we prioritize building meaningful relationships with our end-to-end loyalty solutions. Please welcome Dr. Samhaa, the founding dean of the School of Information Technology at Newgiza University. Welcome, Dr. Samhaa. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Right, so just for the audience, I wanted to ask you to just introduce yourself and give us a bit of a background.
When I was an undergrad, we took one AI course. AI wasn't such a big or hot topic like it is right now. After I graduated, immediately after I graduated, or maybe 1 year after I did, I was lucky enough to work in one of the few places that actually employ AI. Of course, the AI we're talking about, that was, I'm not going to say how many years we had, how long ago, because a long time ago. It was rule-based. It wasn't as advanced as what we have right now. So I worked in a center called the Central Lab for Agricultural Expert Systems. And I really enjoyed my work there because I was part of a team building an expert system for wheat, even though it's something that is totally unrelated to what I'm doing right now.
Wow.
And diagnosing diseases in meat, and meat is a very, very important crop in Egypt. So, and I got to learn all those aspects about wheat and agriculture, but more importantly, I was involved in the tool that was being used to do all of this. And at the time I got the chance to travel to Michigan State University. They were the ones who developed the tool that we were using at this center, and I actually contributed to this tool by developing a small module in it. And this is how my interest in this field started. And then by the time I started doing my master's, the field of AI, you have a lot of hot topics coming every now and then. So at the time, the topic was agent-based computing. And I got really interested in agent-based computing, which is related to AI. But when I did my PhD in Southampton, after I continued my master's, the research lab I was working in was all about hypermedia, information, finding hyperlinks. So this group was really into multimedia systems. Then I went on to establish a research group, primarily focused on text mining. I became the acting dean, and then I became a dean, so it was, all graduate. But the most interesting part, I think, of my career was the time I spent doing research, or after I established the text mining research, working with my students and focusing on Arabic natural language processing, basically.
Wow, that's very, very interesting. What a rich background you have. You mentioned hot topics. There are a lot of hot topics in the world of AI.
Yes.
One that I wanted to spotlight is hyperpersonalization, another hyper term. Right now, hyperpersonalization is trending. And I wanted to ask you, how much more personalized can personalization get with the help of AI?
There wouldn't be personalization to start with, I think, without AI. Personalization is all about understanding patterns, past patterns, and how a person is going to, what is the best way to do something for someone specific based on historical data. And this is personalization. So let's say that X person, I'm going to give an example in medicine, because personalized medicine is one of the hot topics right now. But if I know that a certain person, certain characteristics responds to a certain medication in a certain way, and I know that another person has the same attributes, the general attributes, I know that this person is probably going to respond to the same medication in the same way, while someone else might respond differently.
Mm-hmm.
So personalization would not be in effect without analyzing and recognizing patterns in certain people. This could be applied in education, it could be applied in business. We use or in a lot of consumer businesses, we use the term recommendation, but recommendation is based on, just another way of personalization. So the difference between personalization and hyper-personalization is that hyper-personalization happens in real time. You do something right now, and then whatever action, whatever recommendation, whatever product even that is being presented to you is based on what you're doing right now. I don't know if we can get more personalized than that, but I'm always surprised. I mean, even though this is my field, I'm always amazed that people come up with new ways to make things even more personalized. But user profiling has been a thing for a very, very long time. Even I was just talking to you about my PhD. I used profiling in order to recommend links at the time to certain users. So it was all about personalization, actually. And this was a long time ago. And I expect that it's just going with more data becoming available. There's so many things monitoring our every move, our every action. So I assume that I can't imagine things being more personalized than they are now. You search for something and then you open a totally different web page or whatever, and then you find recommendations about what you've just searched. We're very advanced, I think, when it's come to personalization, but areas such as personalized medicine, for example, I think we're still going to see a lot of innovation in that field. Specific fields, we're going to see a lot more innovation, and it cannot happen without AI.
You touched on how you used this during your PhD, so I wanted to bring that back to education. What factors does generative AI success rely on in education?
So we're talking about education in general, and how I'm assuming we're talking about using Gen AI in education.
Yes.
So success factors, like anything related to Gen AI, it's all about data. So do we have enough data in order to personalize? Again, we're talking about personalization, so it all ties in nicely, because in education, you want to use Gen AI in order to personalize the student experience. You want to make it more enriching for him or her. Students, I think that the biggest problem is they are treated as groups. In a classroom, you're just talking to everyone in a group. But if you're talking about Gen AI, then it's one-on-one. It's like having your own personal educator. And this own personal educator has to adapt to you somehow. And it's not just about your characteristics, it's about understanding where there's a deficiency. I mean, if I need to simplify something, then I need to go to data that is, I need to have had the data or seen the data as an AI system that is actually simplified, so that I can present it to someone in a simplified manner. And I need to do this multiple times, so I have to have rich data with rich modalities, maybe even different presentation styles, not just in text, but also in whatever, graphs, multimedia, voice. All of those modalities have to be there.
Is there a specific example that you have of how generative AI has transformed content delivery in education?
This is very much work in progress, but one example comes to mind. I don't know if you're familiar with Khan Academy.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so Khan Academy, they recently introduced something called Khan Amigo, I think. And it uses a Gen AI in order to make the student experience richer. And it's an interactive experience rather than just one way. So I think this is one good example of Gen AI being used nicely in education. And I expect that over time, very, very soon, I think we're going to see a lot more examples like this.
I wanted to touch on feedback mechanisms and reward mechanisms in the education sector. So how can AI be used to create more engaging and effective reward mechanisms for students?
Even before Gen AI, a reward mechanism in education has been in place. So there have been many kinds of ways to reward the students. Some of them are badge based. So whenever you accomplish something, a milestone, then you get a badge. And for some reason, this is something that a lot of students find attractive. They want to collect as many badges as possible, go to the next level. And badges are one of the things that are being used in education. Another thing is gamification. So if I'm competing against someone and there's a leaderboard, so I'm always trying to better that person. I'm trying to be better in answering questions, in doing quizzes, reading more, doing more activities, because knowing that at one point I'm just going to be up there on some sort of a leaderboard. And of course praise always works. Everyone likes to hear to be praised for doing a good job.
100%.
And giving statistics, you have improved. So again, this is a form of praise. You should be very proud of yourself. You started with I don't know what score, and now you're so much better. So this gives it instills a sense of confidence in the student that is using this or that. Systems that are primarily geared to encourage them or to reward them for their educational experience.
I love that. I love what you said about statistics and praise, because as students you're always searching for that praise, and then having the data in front of you that no, I have improved. I think that's a huge step in student engagement and motivation.
It really does help. It really does, because it's not about being absolutely the best, but knowing that you've bested yourself at one.
Yes,
yeah.
Instead of like competing with other students, you're competing with your own progress.
Exactly.
That's an interesting application of gamification. I think a great example for me is Duolingo.
Language learning,
Yes,
learning a new language.
Definitely, all the different, of course, how easy it is to use, and the levels and the gamification and everything. I think for me, I think that's a really great example of something in learning. What are some innovative approaches to integrating AI-driven feedback systems that support continuous improvement and learning?
In education in general, you always have quizzes, questions, assignments, and most of the time, by the time the student gets feedback, okay, they've already forgotten what they've been doing. It takes a long time in order to get feedback. And feedback is actually in my opinion, one of the most important learning mechanisms. If I made a mistake, I need to understand why I did it. And the sooner I understand what went wrong, the better. So the really nice thing about Gen AI or AI in general is that you can get immediate feedback. It's in real time. So if you did something wrong, you can get feedback, and you can not just feedback about the fact that it's wrong, you can get an explanation of what you did wrong. You can get a referral to some whatever educational piece that you need to revise in order to understand this better, or maybe even an explanation on the fly explanation that makes you understand the concept that maybe was not so clear to you. Most educational institutes, whether we're talking about schools, we're talking about universities, they don't have the bandwidth that allows instructors, teachers, TAs to be able, I mean, it's almost impossible to give immediate feedback, okay? So having Gen AI, I mean, or AI, and an AI application that gives you immediate feedback, that is a huge value added.
One of the great minds here in these squares has drilled into us the idea that in loyalty, it's about the right gift to the right customer at the right time. And I think that ties in really well with what you're saying about immediacy and how effective that is. And I'm noticing a pattern that with AI, it's ticking all the boxes and the criteria for those three things: the right gift to the right the right praise to the right student, the right time, the right content in general to learn from this.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to jump into alumni loyalty. What does that look like versus student engagement?
Alumni loyalty basically means that I feel a sense of belonging to the place where I studied. I've spent, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, and that I want to help other students progress as I did. I want to help this place grow and prosper. Student engagement is a little more selfish. It's about I'm thinking about myself. I'm engaging because I want to be better at something.
No, that's interesting. There is definitely that community-based behavior when we think about alumni. Like me and you, for example, fun fact, we're both Southampton alumni. And once we learned this fact about each other,
yes,
it created
a bond.
Exactly, we created a bond, and now we have a mini community of Southampton graduates.
It's all about community at the
Exactly.
end of the day. So alumni loyalty is a sense of community, but it can only happen if you've had a good experience where you're studying. I don't think that you'll have this sense of community if you've been somewhere where you've had a bad experience. You weren't happy.
It's very much emotional.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. So I wanted to move on to ethical considerations about AI and generative AI in particular. So in the education industry specifically, are there any concerns about how AI is impacting creativity?
In education, it's becoming more and more of a problem for us as educators, noticing that a lot of students employ Gen AI when they're asked to write a paper or they're asked to write an essay. It's not that they shouldn't do that. It's actually, at one point, I always tell our students, we are going to teach you how to use Gen AI in the best possible way in order to increase your productivity. But if I'm asking you to write a reflective essay about yourself or a paper about something that you should research, because I want you to learn how to do research, and you go and you use generative AI, ChatGPT or any other tool, then you're missing the point. You haven't learned anything, and in a sense, it's like cheating. So this is a problem because you have cheated. It's the same when we're teaching students to program for the first time. Now, Gen AI tools, they have this ability to, you can just specify the task, you can give the question that we've actually given the students as an assignment, and you just plug it into a generative AI model, and it's going to produce the answer. But again, you haven't learned anything, so you're missing the point. So again, it's cheating. So here we have another. Cheating and plagiarism are the most obvious ethical considerations when we're talking about generative AI technology. And in terms of creativity as well, when you want someone again to write something that is out of the box, they can use Gen AI to give them ideas, but if they rely entirely on Gen AI, then there's no creativity. It's going to kill their innovation, their ability to create new things, to innovate. So it is a serious concern where that comes as well. It is an amazing tool. Using Gen AI, if you're a company and you want to write something quickly, and you're already proficient in programming, and why not, especially when the code is, some things are so boring, as someone who still writes code till this day. Some things, they're not even, there's absolutely no creativity, and delegating this to something else like Gen AI is a godsend. It's lovely, it's going to increase your productivity. But for someone who's still learning, that's not the case.
For the last section, I like to get our crystal ball out and think about the future. What do you foresee will be the biggest challenges in scaling generative AI across different industries?
I come from a technical background. I'm into computer science, IT. So for us, adopting Gen AI is very easy. It's something that it comes naturally. if we're talking about education institutes in general, we're not talking about specific field, we're talking about embracing Gen AI in all disciplines. So first of all, the educators on what the meaning of Gen AI is and how they can use it most effectively, can be quite a challenge, especially if they don't have any technical background. A lot of people are using large language models, ChatGPT and models like that. They're using them like search engines. They don't know the full capabilities of models like that, or how they can integrate these kinds of models into an educational setting. A lot of people also don't know that models like that can hallucinate, meaning that I can take something. If I'm an educator, I rely on Gen AI, and it hallucinates and it decides to invent something that does not exist, and I give that as fact, then we have a problem. So this is one challenge. Another challenge, of course, is the cost of actually adopting Gen AI. Gen AI comes at a big computational cost. I mean, if we're going to personalize something to work for our specific needs, then we need to host it somewhere with the compute, with the know-how. Someone is going to have to develop this. So this is also another challenge. Having data in order to actually make it more, we're talking about personalization. We want to personalize per institute, per discipline. So we need to make sure that we have the right data for the task that we are targeting. So what exactly are we trying to do? What are we going to do? Is it just, personalizing the student experience, or are we trying to do something else, getting insights? Are we going to incorporate the reward system that we just talked about into something that is for our institute or not? So these are all challenges that educational institutes have to think about.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Very eye-opening chat.